My name is Emma Walker. I never thought I'd see him again. Not here. Not now. Not when my life was finally starting to make sense again. But there he was, Tyler James, standing in the doorway of my bookstore, the same warm brown eyes, same dimpled smile that had once been my whole world, same man who had shattered my heart into a million pieces 15 years ago. Emma? His voice hadn't changed either, deep and smooth like whiskey. I can't believe it's really you. I gripped the edge of the counter, steadied myself, breathed in, breathed out. Tyler, one word, his name. How could it still feel like fire on my tongue after all this time? Boston in autumn had always been beautiful. The way the leaves turned golden and crimson, the cool air that carried whispers of coming winter, the way the Charles River reflected the changing sky. It was in this season that I had first fallen in love with Tyler James. Senior year at Boston University, me with my literature major, him with his architecture dreams. I'll build you a house someday, he promised under an oak tree in the public garden, my head on his lap, his fingers tracing patterns in my hair, with a library that has floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a window seat where you can read during rainstorms. I had believed him. I had believed in us, until the day he left. What are you doing here? I finally managed to ask, my voice steadier than I felt. Tyler stepped fully into Bookmark, the little independent bookstore I'd poured my heart and soul into for the past 7 years. His tall frame seemed to fill the space. He looked good, too good. Time had been kind to him, adding distinguished lines around his eyes, a touch of silver at his temples. I moved back to Boston last month, he said, his hands sliding into the pockets of his coat, a nervous gesture I still remembered. I didn't know this was your place until I saw the owner's name on the website. He paused. It's perfect, Emma. Just like you always dreamed. I swallowed hard. 15 years of carefully constructed walls threatened to crumble with just one look from him. Thank you. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. What can I help you with today? Professional, distant, say. Actually, he hesitated. I'm looking for a book about second chances. My heart stuttered in my chest. Was he being serious? Or was the universe playing some cruel joke? Fiction or non-fiction? I asked, proud of how normal I sounded when everything inside me was screaming. I'm open to suggestions. His eyes held mine, and for a moment, I was 22 again, hopelessly in love with the boy who had promised me forever. I hadn't always wanted to own a bookstore. After college, I'd worked in publishing in New York, busy, ambitious, trying to outrun the memories of what Tyler and I had. It was after my father's heart attack that I'd moved back to Boston, to be closer to my parents, to reevaluate what mattered. And that's when I found this place, a failing bookstore in Beacon Hill with good bones and terrible management. I saw its potential immediately, a fresh start, a dream I hadn't known I'd had. With my savings and a small loan from my parents, I bought it, renamed it, transformed it. For 7 years, Bookmark had been my salvation, my purpose, my home, until Tyler James walked back into my life and threatened to unravel everything. You have an entire section on new beginnings, I said, motioning for him to follow me through the stacks. The familiar smell of books calmed me. This was my territory, my safe space. You've done amazing things here, Emma. Tyler's voice was soft behind me. I always knew you would. I stopped and turned to face him. You don't get to say things like that. My voice was low, controlled. You don't get to walk in here after 15 years and act like you know me. A flicker of pain crossed his face. You're right. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. The bell above the door jingled as another customer entered. I took a deep breath. The books are in this section. Feel free to browse. I turned and walked away before he could respond. I helped 3 more customers. Shelved a new shipment of mysteries. Answered email, all while acutely aware of Tyler's presence among my bookshelves. When I looked up again, he was at the counter, a book in hand, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I noted as I rang him up. Good choice. The bookseller recommended it. He smiled, and despite everything, I felt the corners of my mouth lift in response. She has excellent taste. I handed him his receipt. Our fingers brushed, and the contact sent electricity up my arm. Emma, he said, his voice serious now. I know I have no right to ask, but would you have coffee with me? Just to talk? I should say no. Every rational part of me knew that, but 15 years of questions burned inside me. 15 years of wondering why. A 1 coffee, I heard myself say. Tomorrow morning at Beacon Brew, 8 o'clock. Hope brightened his eyes. I'll be there. After he left, I locked the door, flipped the sign to closed, and slid down against the wall. What had I just done? That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories I'd locked away for years came flooding back. Our first date at the little Italian restaurant near campus. The way he'd kissed me under the streetlight afterward. Tasting of tiramisu and possibilities. The weekend trips to Cape Cod. Arfing barefoot on cold sand. Making love in a rented cottage as rain pattered against the windows. Our tiny apartment with the leaky faucet and the view of the brick wall next door. How it had felt like a palace because we were together. And then the job offer. Seattle, a prestigious architecture firm. His dream. Come with me, he'd said, but I had just started at the publishing house. My father had just been diagnosed with early-stage heart disease. Long distance for a year, I'd suggested. Then I'll join you. He'd agreed, kissed me goodbye at the airport, promised to call every day. For 3 months, he did. Then the calls became less frequent, his voice more distant. Until the night he called to tell me he'd met someone else. It just happened, Emma, he'd said, his voice cracking. I never meant to hurt you. But he had. God, he had. God. I arrived at Beacon Brew 20 minutes early the next morning, ordered a latte, chose a table by the window, considered leaving a dozen times, but then I saw him approaching through the glass, and something settled in me, a quiet resolve to face this ghost from my past, to finally get answers. You came, he said as he slid into the chair across from me. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept either. I said I would. I wrapped my hands around my mug. So talk. Tyler ordered a black coffee, took a sip, set it down carefully. I was an idiot, he began. The biggest idiot in the world. I raised an eyebrow. That's your opening line? A smile flickered across his face. I'm rusty at groveling. Is that what this is? His expression sobered. It should be. He leaned forward. I've regretted what I did to you every day for 15 years, Emma. I felt a lump form in my throat. Pushed it down. What happened to her? The woman in Seattle? Vanessa, he sighed. We dated for about a year. It was a mistake from the start. I was lonely, and she was there. The romantic. The word came out sharper than I intended. I deserved that. He nodded. After we broke up, I tried to find you. Called your old number. It was disconnected. Went to your parents' house. They'd moved to Florida. I supplied. After Dad's second heart attack. I'm sorry to hear that. His concern seemed genuine. She okay now? I nodded. The warm weather helps. They're happy there. A silence fell between us, not comfortable like our silences used to be. This one was heavy with unspoken words and lost time. I got married, Tyler said finally. The words hit me harder than they should have. After 15 years, I had no right to feel this ache in my chest. Congratulations, I managed. It ended 2 years ago. She stared into his coffee. Caroline was amazing, smart, kind, patient. She deserved someone who loved her completely. And you didn't? His eyes met mine. There was always a part of me that belonged to someone else. My throat tightened. Don't. I shook my head. You don't get to say things like that, Tyler. It's the truth. His voice was quiet but firm. I'm not saying it to win you back or to disrupt your life. I'm saying it because after 15 years, you deserve the truth. The truth. I felt something crack inside me. The truth is that you left me. You promised me forever and then you left. Do you know what that did to me? No, he admitted. But I'd like to know, if you're willing to tell me. I looked out the window, watched people hurrying past, living their lives, moving forward. I couldn't write for 2 years after you left, I said finally. Not a single word. It was like you took that part of me with you. He flinched. Good. Threw myself into my career instead. Worked 60-hour weeks. Dated men I felt nothing for. Convinced myself I was fine. I took a sip of my now cold latte. Then Dad got sick again. And suddenly none of it mattered. The job, the apartment in New York. All the things I thought made me successful. That's when you came back to Boston. I nodded. Found the bookstore. Started writing again. Built a life I'm proud of. I met his gaze steadily. Without you. You should be proud, Emma. His voice was soft. What you've created is incredible. Why are you really here, Tyler? I asked. In Boston. In my bookstore. In this coffee shop. He took a deep breath. I got offered a position at MIT, teaching architecture. It felt like a sign, a chance to come home. He hesitated. I didn't expect to find you, but now that you have, I'd like to know you again, Emma. His eyes held mine, not to pick up where we left off. That's impossible. We're different people now, but maybe as friends. Friend with Tyler James. The thought was both ludicrous and tempting. I don't know if I can do that, I said honestly. He nodded. I understand. He pulled a business card from his wallet, placed it on the table. If you change your mind, or if you ever want to talk again, about anything. I didn't take the card, but I didn't push it away either. 2 weeks passed. I didn't call. He didn't come back to the bookstore. Life continued as normal, or as normal as it could be when every time the bell above the door jingled, my heart jumped with hope and dread. You seem distracted. My assistant manager, Zoe, I commented one afternoon, as we unpacked a new shipment. Is everything okay? Fine, I lied. Just thinking about the author event next week. She didn't believe me. I could tell, but she didn't push. That's why I loved Zoe. She knew when to give space. That night, I found myself walking through Beacon Hill, past brownstones with glowing windows, families inside, lives intertwined. I'd dated since Tyler. Of course I had. There had been Michael, the professor who quoted Keats during dinner, Jason, the lawyer with the kind smile and weekend sailing trips, even David, who had asked me to marry him after a year. I'd said no, told him I wasn't ready. The truth was, I wasn't sure I'd ever be ready. Not when a piece of my heart had been left behind all those years ago. Before I realized where I was going, I found myself outside the public garden. Our oak tree would be there, the one where Tyler had promised to build me a house with a library. I shouldn't go in. I should turn around, go home, forget again. Instead, I walked through the gate. The garden was quiet at this hour. A few couples strolling, a man walking his dog, the autumn air crisp and clean. Our tree was still there. Of course it was. It had been there for 100 years before us, would be there 100 years after. And sitting beneath it, head bent over a notebook, was Tyler. My breath caught. This couldn't be coincidence. The universe couldn't be this cruel or this kind. He looked up as if sensing me. His eyes widened. Emma, what are you doing here? My voice sounded strange to my own ears. He closed his notebook, stood up. I come here sometimes to think, to remember. To remember what? But I knew. Of course I knew. Us. The word hung in the air between us. The best parts of my life happened under this tree. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Tyler, I know. He held up his hands. I promised to give you space. I'll go. No. The word surprised us both. Stay, please. He hesitated, then gestured to the space beside him. I sat down. The bark of the tree rough against my back, familiar. We sat in silence for a while, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. I never built you that house, he said finally, with the library and the window seat. No, I agreed. You didn't. I designed it though. He opened his notebook, handed it to me, every detail. I looked down at the page. A beautiful rendering of a house, 2 stories, wide windows, a wraparound porch, and inside, a library exactly as he'd described that day, so long ago. When did you draw this? My fingers traced the lines, the careful details. I started it 15 years ago. His voice was quiet. I've redrawn it dozens of times over the years. Added things, changed the layout, but the library has always stayed the same. Tears welled in my eyes. I blinked them back. Why? He turned to face me fully. Because I never stopped loving you, Emma. Not for one day. The words hung between us. Impossible, wonderful, terrifying. You left me. My voice broke. It was the biggest mistake of my life. His eyes held mine. I was young and stupid and scared. The distance felt impossible. I thought I could start over. But there is no starting over from you, Emma. You're embedded in me. A tear slipped down my cheek. He reached up, brushed it away with his thumb. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said. I'm not even asking for a second chance. I just needed you to know. I closed the notebook, handed it back to him, stood up. Emma? His voice was uncertain. I need time, Tyler. I wrapped my arms around myself. This is a lot. He nodded. I understand. I turned to go, then stopped. The author event at my store next week. Thursday at 7. You should come. Oh. Hope flickered in his eyes. I'll be there. The store was packed for the event. The author, a popular romance novelist, had drawn a crowd. I was too busy to look for Tyler, but I felt his presence the moment he walked in. He stood at the back, listened attentively to the reading, laughed at all the right places. When the Q&A started, he raised his hand. Yes, the author pointed to him. Is it really possible to love someone for 15 years without being with them? His voice carried through the store. Or is that just a romantic fantasy? The room went quiet. I felt every eye on me, though no one but Tyler and I knew the question's true meaning. The author smiled. Love isn't linear, she said. It doesn't follow rules or timelines. Sometimes it lies dormant, like seeds under snow, but that doesn't mean it's not alive. It's just waiting for the right season to bloom again. Tyler's eyes found mine across the crowded room. In them, I saw 15 years of regret, of longing, of hope, and something inside me shifted, like a key turning in a lock, like coming home after a long journey, after the event, after the books were signed and the customers had left. He stayed, helped me and Zoe stack chairs, sweep up cookie crumbs. You didn't have to stay, I said as Zoe left, throwing me a knowing smile over her shoulder. I wanted to. He leaned against a bookshelf. It was a good event. I busied myself straightening a display. Thank you for your question. It gave the author something interesting to think about. And you? His voice was soft. Did it give you something to think about too? I turned to face him. I've thought of little else for 2 weeks, Tyler. He took a step toward me, stopped, waiting. I'm scared, I admitted. Terrified, actually. Of what? Of feeling that way again, of loving someone so much that losing them would destroy me. I can't promise we won't hurt each other again, Emma. His honesty was refreshing, but I can promise that I know what I lost now, and I would spend every day making sure you never doubted how much I love you. Love. I tested the word. Present tense. Present. He nodded. Past. Future. All of it. I took a deep breath, took a step toward him. Then another. I need to go slowly, I said. Very slowly. Hope bloomed in his eyes. I can do slowly, and I need to know everything. All the years we missed. The good and the bad. Everything, he agreed. And no promises about houses or libraries or forever. Not yet. No promises, he repeated. Except one. I raised an eyebrow. I promised to be honest. Always. About what I'm feeling. About what I want. About what I'm afraid of. It was a good promise. The right promise. I can match that one, I said. He smiled. That dimpled smile that had haunted my dreams for 15 years. And then he held out his hand. I looked at it, at this offering, this beginning. Slowly, I placed my hand in his. It felt both strange and familiar, new and ancient. Would you like to get dinner sometime? He asked. Or coffee, or just take a walk. I smiled. I'd like that. Which one? All of them. I squeezed his hand, eventually. He squeezed back. We have time. And standing there, in my bookstore, surrounded by stories of love lost and found, I finally believed it. We had time. After all this time, we had found our way back to each other. A different people now. Shaped by years and experiences and heartbreak. But maybe that was the point. Maybe we needed to become these versions of ourselves before we could truly be together. I never stopped loving you either, Tyler James. I whispered. Not for one day. And when he pulled me gently into his arms, it felt like the ending of one story. And the beginning of another. Our story, after all this time. If Emma and Tyler's journey touched your heart, don't let their story end here. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more second chance romances that remind us it's never too late for love. Your support helps us bring these emotional stories to life, because sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come after the hardest goodbyes.